So what are your thoughts on Olivia Dean?
I love Olivia Dean.
too.
Wait, we should talk about her.
No, you should.
Do you want to? Olivia Dean has had a meteoric rise to fame in just this last year, which is why she is such a perfect celebrity for us to break down and figure out exactly how she went from being a gospel singer to being mainstream famous and getting nominated for New Artist of the Year at the Grammy Awards. I'm Whitney Euland, your celebrity coach, and I am so excited to be here today. Let's get into it. Let's talk about Olivia Dean. Today, we are going to break down exactly how Olivia Dean got famous and what you can learn from her energy, and really from her story that took her all the way from being a gospel choir singer to being nominated for a literal Grammy Award. One of the reasons that I love Olivia Dean is that her music is so nuanced, which I think is really reflective of our time. Part of the reason that Olivia Dean is so inspiring is because she came from a kind of quote unquote normal upbringing. She's from England and she started singing in gospel choirs and then really put in all of the work. So she was being consistent. She was showing up, releasing new music. She was posting on the internet. I think this is so exciting because probably 6 months ago, a year ago, you'd never even heard of her name before. But just like all great artists, she actually has been at the game for a long time, and it was kind of like a overnight sensation 10 years in the making. I love Olivia Dean so much, and I think she has this like really gentle, feminine strength. Like, she is strong, don't get me wrong. It's not giving damsel, but she has this really beautiful energy that's so warm. So my understanding of Olivia Dean is that she had kind of like a normal rise to fame where she started in as a gospel choir singer and then started releasing her own music, posting it, promoting it. She signed her first record deal in 2019 for her album Okay Love You Bye, which is one of my favorite songs, by the way, because it's so nuanced. In a time where we're so used to like really polarizing conversations and where everything is really black and white, this is this song that's about a girl talking to her boyfriend. They get in a fight, they hang up, and it's not resolved, right? It's like this unresolved conversation, which is different than what we normally see right now in mainstream music, where it's like people are good or bad or evil versus good. And I think that in a lot of ways, her music is kind of risky in that way. It's just different. And so she released that album and then got signed to a record label. And it took 4 years to get this most recent album out that has A Man I Need. What happened with that is 2023, she put this song out. She had posted it online and she had been building a following, and then it didn't blow up until 2025 when it became a viral sound, which is also just so interesting because, again, we're at this time where the culture wants her music and we want a softness. We want men to step up and be the man I need. But what I think is so impressive is that so many artists I see often, it's like they release some music and they think if it didn't immediately blow up, if it didn't immediately become a top charting hit, then they're like, oh my God, then it must be over for me. I'm not gonna be able to make this work. I must not be meant to be famous or whatever. And they get really discouraged when truthfully, her song had like a 2-year shelf life before it actually blew up. And I think instead of just scrapping it, feeling embarrassed, like throwing in the towel and being like, let me just release another album, and hoping that one of them blows up. I think artists really need to spend time posting their same music, promoting their same music, not always just trying to change the circumstance, hoping that the next one will hit without actually having to put the work in for it. So I would say Olivia Dean kind of is like, she has legacy fame, but she created the fame for herself, right? So now she kind of is in this structure where she has a record label, like she has the team behind it. Oh my God, her stylist, whoever is styling her needs their own Academy Award. Like now she has the team, but she actually started from humble origins, which I think is really inspiring for artists who, want to be creating music. They want to be putting themselves out there. They want to be building a following. And I think it's really easy to just get stuck in thinking that someone will hand you your big break or that it will come overnight. But, they always say in Hollywood that an overnight success is always 10 years in the making. Why do I think it took her a long time? Okay, this is kind of controversial. I don't think we were ready for her music until now. Over the last 10 years, there have been a lot of changes happening in society at large, right? And in the zeitgeist and in politics and all these things. We think about the Me Too movement, we think about the Black Lives Matter movement. Those have been really important times for our industry to sit back and reflect and say like, oh, maybe we do need different voices. We need more inclusivity. But what ended up happening was then it kind of, in a lot of ways, the pendulum swung in the other direction. So I remember like in 2019, I was on the film festival circuit and every single movie was almost like bashing men. It was like hot and trendy to be a woman in film. And I think that probably had something similar in Hollywood for people of color, where it was like, oh, let's make sure and push these narratives. And then finally now it's come back to the center. And now I really do feel like we're seeing that the most talent wins. I mean, for me personally, as a white woman, I think that a lot of artists who actually break through right now are often people of color. I think that they're held often to almost a higher standard of excellence to really step up into. And I think that's why Olivia Dean is such a great example. Like her vocals are just, they're beyond. You can see her, singing live on SNL or whatever, and she sounds just as good live as she does in the recording, which isn't true of all talent. And obviously we know artists that are true geniuses in songwriting versus the singing, but I think she really is just kind of this beautiful breath of fresh air of there being nuance, there being moderation, there being this like love for this feminine energy of what she brings without it having to be forced or pushed or contrived either. I think Olivia Dean is a great example because she is obviously like really freaking talented, but I think she's also just an example to everyone that you can rise to the top, that if you have the talent, you have the work ethic, you have the drive, and you keep showing up, you can create fame also. But in order to create fame, you have to feel safe being in the spotlight. You have to be safe being perceived for who you authentically are when you're in a really vulnerable state, which can be really challenging for people, especially if they have marginalized identities and especially when they have multiple, where they've learned that it's not safe to exist in their body, that they say you have to see it to be it, which is why I personally think representation in the media is so important, is to have and to be creating people in leadership that are thought leaders, that are artists, that are celebrities. But I think sometimes I've seen with clients that has been an extra part of the conversation of what we're talking about, is that they have learned from their life experiences and what they see on the news that it's not safe for them to be in the spotlight. Often a lot of the work is coming to that safety and realizing that you are safe, you are wanted, and that people need and want to hear you, and they need and want to hear your voice. I think overall, Olivia Dean is just such a great example of persistence, of continuing to show up, continuing to market her music, continuing to improve her vocals, to improve her songwriting, really just staying at it. Ultimately, I think most people who have made it have said that they ended up coming into some, stroke of luck. And ultimately, you have to continue putting yourself at that to get as many opportunities to catch that luck, right? And I think that if you are wanting to be famous, you want to build an audience, you want to have a platform, you want to make an impact, you're going to have to stay with it, even when it doesn't look like things are working, right? Remember like how Olivia Dean's song came out and it took 2 years before it became viral. What if your biggest hit you've already made? And the only thing getting in the way is that you keep thinking it's not good enough and you're not actually promoting it. You're not actually sharing it. You're not actually putting yourself in those vulnerable positions where people can say yes to you. I see that a lot with clients where they put all this time and effort and energy into one project and they think this will be the thing that makes it. And then when it doesn't have an immediate hit, that's when they feel deflated. I think there's a difference between being disappointed and being discouraged, right? If something doesn't land the way that you wanted it to, let's say you release an album, you start posting online and it doesn't hit, I think it's super valid to feel disappointed. But once you slide into that feeling discouraged and starting to think about yourself, oh, maybe this means I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I should get a real job. Someone DM'd me the other day saying, what if I'm not special enough? What if I'm not like chosen enough to be in the spotlight? And to that, I really say like, what if it has nothing to do with your worth? What if the only thing standing in the way of you and the success that you want is your ability to just hold the vision, even when there's some disappointment, even when things aren't working out the way that you expected them? Because if you're anything like Olivia Dean, you might just make it to the Grammys next year.